Meet Beatrice and her daughter Cassandra. Beatrice loves her daughter very much and wants her to eat well. Beatrice notices Cassandra is a picky eater. She prepares dinner and serves it to Cassandra. Cassandra takes a look at the food and refuses to eat the fish that her mother prepared for her. Beatrice needs to feed her daughter and has observed that she will not eat fish. So she starts to think about what Cassandra may like: spaghetti, fish, or chicken stew. After thinking of a few different ideas, Beatrice prepares spaghetti for Cassandra for the next night. But again, Cassandra refuses to eat the spaghetti that her mother made for dinner. Beatrice goes back to thinking of new ideas and decides to move on to the chicken stew for tomorrow night. Tomorrow comes and Cassandra enjoys the chicken stew. Now Beatrice knows that she can feed Cassandra chicken stew and she will eat it. She also learned that Cassandra will not eat fish or spaghetti. While it may seem like Beatrice used a simple thought process, she actually analyzed the problem using the steps of something called the scientific method.
So what is the scientific method? The scientific method is a way for people to study and learn things all around us. The steps of the scientific method are as follows. First, ask a question. What exactly are you trying to observe, specifically? Second, form a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a testable, educated guess about what you think will happen if you were to test your question with experimentation. Third, conduct an experiment. An experiment is a time to record observations and analyze the meaning of the data collected. Fourth, gather results and conclusions. Results are your interpretation of the experiment, while conclusions are the answers you draw through the results. Lastly, repeat these steps if needed. If the experiment fails, you can form a new hypothesis and test it again. You can keep testing until you arrive at a solution. Additionally, in many cases, it is important to repeat the process even when your hypothesis is correct. This will ensure that your results are actual and not just by chance. Now, although this seemed like a fairly common situation, Beatrice actually used the scientific method to figure out what to feed Cassandra for dinner. Let's break it down. Ask a question.
After Cassandra refuses to eat dinner, Beatrice asks herself what Cassandra would eat.
Form a hypothesis.
After considering a few different ideas, Beatrice hypothesized that Cassandra may eat spaghetti.
Conduct an experiment.
How do you think Beatrice experimented in this example? Beatrice tests her hypothesis and serves her daughter spaghetti the following night for dinner.
Gather results and conclusions.
After serving her daughter spaghetti, Beatrice gathers results from Cassandra's reaction. Based on Cassandra's disapproval of the food, she concludes that Cassandra does not like spaghetti for dinner. After the experiment, Beatrice concludes that her hypothesis was incorrect.
Repeat as needed.
Realizing her first hypothesis was incorrect, Beatrice wants to repeat the experiment to find out which foods Cassandra enjoys eating at dinner.
Hypothesize.
What do you think Beatrice's new hypothesis will be? Yes, in her second experiment, Beatrice hypothesizes that Cassandra might like chicken stew and decides to make it for dinner the next day.
Experiment.
Beatrice tests her hypothesis and serves her daughter chicken stew the following night for dinner.
Results and conclusions.
Beatrice notices Cassandra enjoyed the chicken stew and ate the entire meal without any complaints. The hypothesis was correct, as Cassandra did enjoy eating chicken stew for dinner. Since Beatrice's hypothesis was correct, she does not have to repeat the experiment. She could always test the same hypothesis again to make sure Cassandra does really enjoy eating chicken stew, and it wasn't just by chance.
As you saw in the video, the scientific method is a way for people to study and learn about the things around us. While the scientific method is typically used by scientists making complex observations and discoveries, it can also be used by ordinary people in everyday life. Now, let's review the steps of the scientific method one more time. First, ask a question. What exactly are you trying to observe, specifically? Second, form a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a testable, educated guess about what you think will happen if you were to test your question with experimentation. Third, conduct an experiment. An experiment is a time to record observations and analyze the meaning of the data collected. Fourth, gather results and conclusions. Results are your interpretation of the experiment, while conclusions are the answers you draw through the results. Lastly, repeat the steps if needed. If the experiment fails, you can form a new hypothesis and test it again. You can keep testing until you arrive at a solution.
Scientific method is ordinary people doing ordinary things and can be applied to everyday life situations. It is important because the process encourages us to question and explore our surroundings and helps us get rid of any doubt. While this video used a basic example of the scientific method in action, more complex questions can be answered following the same process, such as, why will my car not start? Or, if I take a different route to school, can I get there faster? Now, we want to test your knowledge on what you learned in this video. Question 1. Which of the following do you think could be answered with the scientific method?
A. Why is my toaster not working? B. Where should I plant my tomato garden for them to grow the best? C. If I drink milk every day, will I grow taller? Or D. All of the above. That's right. It's D. All of the above.
Next question. What happens if your hypothesis is wrong?
A. You give up on the experiment. Or B. You change your hypothesis and retest your experiment. That's right, it's B. You can change and retest your hypothesis as many times as needed.
Thank you for watching and interacting with us. We hope you continue to explore the world through the scientific method as you apply it to your everyday life.
After you're done with the video, ask yourself what are some questions you can answer using the scientific method. Try it out for yourself. You will find that it is incredible what you can discover when you use this process to answer questions around you.